If you enjoy this content and are willing to help me in any way, please consider Patreon. It is a way that you can help me acquire more gear to test and review. I will post video reviews earlier on Patreon, including additional footage, testings, and additional thinking bits regarding gear I review. Thank you so much for supporting me. To me, the story of success of Audiolab is a fascinating thing. They managed to create such a disruption in the hi-fi world with Audiolab 9000a, a device that took a lot of mature elements of sound in a sleek and affordable package. It came out of nowhere, and honestly, if you ask me, by the help of promotion of many satisfied reviewers elsewhere, but especially here on YouTube, the Audiolab became a hit. I loved that device. It had its fair share of issues, but I loved it. I loved how incredibly rich and open the sound signature is. It just opens in all the directions. But there were some limitations to sound which I wondered how they will address in later devices. It is a similar fear you have when watching a really good movie and you're like, they cannot top this with a sequel, no way. This is my thoughts going into this device. And something more, this is a vision of Audiolab who feels that this is a top of their line, their vanguard, their flagship device that should satisfy most of people, that there is no reason to upgrade higher and more if you're an audiophile. That is a serious playground that they're playing in, and a lot of small insecurities around sound needs to be exposed more in this review as you deal with more mature device. And I think that is a good segue into explaining the immediacy of a hi-fi device. That first impression, that immediate hook and draw that is supposed to tell you, I am so glad that I bought this device. And there is nothing like that here. And you think a little bit and you do as, is something wrong here? Like, this device is 2,300 euros. What am I missing here? Certainly I can tell how rich the mid-range is, how everything coming out of my speaker sounded more mature, detailed, and textured, of course. But wait, many amps in this price range do that. It is not that you will have amp costing more than 2,000 euros sounding weak in its presentation, but those that stand out are the amps that provide excellency in some part of dynamic scale. For example, Riga Alex have an impressive detailed treble and extraction. This is in the realm of discovering new horizons. This is a bit more expensive amp, but you understand where your money went. For example, Nime Night XS3 is also exceptionally insightful with its more balanced approach. This is that you need unique traits to pull you out of crowd in this price level more than ever. And especially as diminishing value seriously creeps in here, as you climb on a ladder of upgrades and you invest more in your hi-fi gear. The more you give, the hi-fi brings back less, and it's happening here, and it's not something like something specifically for Audiolab 9000a, as I strongly believe that Audiolab 9000a sits somewhere on the verge of that. But it is something that you should have in mind when upgrading and giving more money. All those thoughts came to my head while I was listening to this amp, about diminishing value, about saturation on the market, about features versus value. I got lost in my thoughts, and first impression was lukewarm. Not bad, but I just wasn't impressed either. And I have a great companion for it's an Audiolab 9000 CDT with focal area 96 with Denafrips RS2 DAC. And all of these amps, speakers, and eventually, very soon, DAC, you will have review on this channel. I have to repeat again, it is not a bad device, but every time when I review something, I ask myself, would I recommend this device? And how much value do you get from price this device asks? It has been an ethos of mine from this channel. It's something that I follow rigorously and religiously. As I was listening, I thought about changing the mindset a little bit and think about what I don't like about this device. Like, is bass where I have my grievances? But no, the bass was excellent. Like, this is completely different than what 6000 and 7000 offered, as bass was full and detailed and commanding. This is a polar opposite to what I used from Audiolab. I was so happy to what it did to bass, how commanding it became with a little of tiny details like that trump. You feel not just pressure and strength, but also from how big was the cabinet it came from and what materials they used. Okay, so it's not bass. Maybe I have issues with midrange, as midrange is the sweet spot in sound. All the best things happen in a midrange. But no, the midrange is fantastic in Audiolab. I mean, we expect the sound to have airiness and large scope of Soundstage. That's a staple of Audiolab. But spice that with the clarity and textures in instruments. Make that not just visible, but the sound more present. You know, the more details it's stored, and with the talented speakers, instruments become more real and larger. That helps dramatically in expanding the soundstage, as the more we hear and the more intelligently the Audiolab places these instruments in space, we feel more in awe. It's expanding in dynamic range from treble to bass with a certain ease, but with a bit shyness, and that is what I found interesting. How much it pushes listener to invest its time and effort into understanding the finer points of music spectrum. My, aren't you mischievous one Audiolab, hiding your best selves for the one who invests most time in you? This is a mid-range from a mature audio device. This mid-range makes everything sounds better. Vocals sounded great and present with dynamics on abundance. Every instrument is present and with enough tonal realism infused with sweetness. So not so tonally real, oh god, what did it just say here? But sonic clarity and detailed resolution in mid-range is fantastic. So much to hear and observe, so many microtonalism that colors the sound. Just fantastic mid-range here. Soundstage was great. Really great. With talented speakers, it opens the sound and expands it greatly. It is a joy listening to music like this, how it envelops you from a different lanes and highways that these amps and speakers build. For instruments to separate and have their own track, it builds a house big enough for everyone, where it all works together in harmony. And treble. Treble is okay. I mean, okay for this price level. It's probably great for like a cheaper device. It rounds up enough details, and most importantly, that I expect from my devices, it shaves highs and transforms them into manageable information that does not overflow. This is of course heavily dependent on synergy and how you pair. But when switching speakers, you notice what characteristics amps push and not. But still, there could be more passion when dynamic range of instruments rise to occasion. They don't expand all the way to that treble territory with enough details and verve. That can, in hindsight, be a weakness or strength depending on who you speak to. It just does not excite me enough. It's not just that very interesting, passionate treble that just up your music, make it live and make it more fun. So is it DAC Well, DAC is great, 32-bit, 768 kHz, DSD 512, MQA, everything. Honestly, who needs more than that? It is the ESS Sabre 9038 Pro flagship DAC, but still, unfortunately it cannot compare to like external 500 euros plus DAC. But when I connected to Audiolab's DAC, I was satisfied. It had a good separation, organization, it uses strength to throw deep and big dispersion. It is really nice, and I can see a lot of people being satisfied with this and opt out from external DACs, as this does a great job. I love how it adds just a bit more subtlety in the sound and how it just pushes a bit more dynamic range than usual. So definitely I see a lot of people like being satisfied with this DAC, especially how much from a feature perspective it allowed. So definitely I was very satisfied with DAC, so it's not a problem that I can see. Something hit me at that moment. The more I listened, the more Audiolab was caring and doing heavy lifting and pampering my listening sessions, but reserved all beside my back. And that shy boy of Audiolab 9000a is now becoming every day more mature and mature, and he is now an older man with 100 stories to tell, but he does not speak unless he has been seeked out, and he is not a young man in prime showing all the muscle and technique. No, but someone who knows he mastered the basics long time ago and knows that true power lies in being balanced and covering every single need of listener and doing that exceptionally well. Audiolab is that good of an amp. He's a patient man, and whatever you throw at him, it did organize, shape, and upgrade the sound to my speakers for them to sound great. Yes, Denon PMA 1700 sounds weightier and bigger. Premier i25 has more feature-rich amp with incredible dynamics and bass. Marantz is more warm. Riga is Riga, a masterful detail extractor, but Audiolab is a balance master, the one that many can enjoy. And there lies a problem to me, as this is not something I can have my high seal of approval, as 6000a for example. It is a great device, don't get me wrong, but it is a device that lacks in unique characteristics. It is an amp that is built that can offer everything for everyone, while not excelling in any speciality. It has incredibly rich and beautiful mid-range that offers great imaging, soundstage, clarity and transparency. It even has a great bass, nice vocal layering and weight. It could be more exciting in treble and dynamic range, but nothing for me to say that it is bad, so it honestly does everything and it comes with a great DAC and a bunch of inputs and outputs. This might be your next endgame amp, this might be your next biggest disappointment, and this might be your bridge of an amp to find something better. But nonetheless, it is a mighty device that shows Audiolab can fight with mature audio devices in 2000 to 3000 euro price range. Thank you for watching, and if you enjoyed this content, please like, subscribe, and if you can, donate via Patreon. Even the smallest help can help me grow this passion of mine and continue doing this. Keep daydreaming and see you soon in the next video. Bye!